Good afternoon, everyone. So this is the first non-medical lecture we are going to have for this academic year. We have here, he doesn't need any introduction, Dr. Darshana Wijegunasinghe, consultant neurologist. He is not going to talk about neurology, but the things that we can't see usually. So he's going to show the things which are usually unseen. Over to you, Dr. Darshana.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Sanjeev. Um actually, today I am going to give you about some basic principles of photography and to, uh, we go to different places. We all go to different places, but unless you have a trained eye and brain, you don't spot these things. These things go unnoticed. So therefore, you should have a hawk's eye to spot these beautiful things in nature. All right. Yeah. So to give you a rough introduction, what photography is, it's an art form. Like we draw and we paint. So photography is a similar thing, but we use a camera to see the life in a different way and to feel emotions and to record stories and events. Actually, this picture, I think Jiva is very familiar, taken about 4 or 5 years ago. This depicts the broken bridge in Manila, which severed the north and south due to a terrorist bomb blast. So, although this is just a bridge, it tells a long story for the people who know about it. And there are three basic styles of photography. The one is landscape, the other one is portrait photography, the other one is document. And the landscape photography is that you photograph the environment. It could be forests, mountains, oceans, maybe your backyard, right? So but you have to time it properly and um, get the perspective and composition right. That is, then it becomes a good landscape photograph. Portrait is a photograph of a person or an animal, but the main thing is it's important to show some emotion, right? Like this leopard, you close it up and try to show the emotion of that subject. The documentary is that you present facts without changing anything. So the good documentary photographs, it's up to you to think about the story behind this photograph. So everyone will think about that their experiences and create their own story. So the then I will go into some very minute, uh, the small amount of technical details. I think you should know the exposure. The correct exposure of a photograph is where you see the maximum details of your bright parts, that is highlights, and also very dark parts, that is shadows of an image. And this highlights and shadows, right? So this photograph where you see the maximum details of your object and the background is purposefully blurred to give a prominent to your object. Okay, and the exposure depends on three things. One is aperture, the other one is shutter speed, the other one is ISO, which I will tell you in detail. The aperture is the opening of your camera. How open is your camera to the light? So it will be big or it will be small. The obviously the big apertures will capture more light, and the small apertures will capture less light. And also the shutter speed, the amount of time where your sensor or the camera or the film roll is exposed to the light. It can be 1/100th of a second, or the newer cameras goes up to about 5,000 per second, one in 5,000 per second. So very fast. Now the new digital cameras can operate. So obviously when you have a faster shutter speed, you have less light, but you can take action, the moving objects frozen, like a bird's flight. And then the ISO. This is the sensitivity of your camera sensor, or maybe the film roll. I don't know whether you can remember that those days we had 100 ISO film rolls and 400 ISO film rolls. So when you are having less light, the 400 ISO is better than 100 ISO. So similarly, nowadays the digital cameras can go up to about 25,000, 30,000 ISOs, but there is a drawback. When you go up the ISO, there will be digital dots appearing in your picture. So so you have to know about your camera. Some cameras can go up to about 5,000 ISO without any problem. So you have to know about your camera. So these are the three things which controls your exposure. By changing these parameters, you can change your exposure. And little bit of a thing about histogram, because most of the people who use digital cameras doesn't use this at all. So if you view the picture that you have taken and press on the info button, there will be a graph like thing coming on your digital screen. So that's the histogram, which is a graphic representation of your tones in your image, where the dark ones are on the left and the white ones are on the right. So the ideal histogram is like a bell-shaped, normal Gaussian curve-like thing. But that is but there are instances you can get the histogram skewed to one part. If your picture has more dark pixels, it will be skewed to the left. If you have lots of lighter tones, it will be skewed to the right. So you can have an idea whether your um, exposure and the tonal representation of your photograph, if you just we want this. Okay. Then the other thing is contrast. What is contrast? It is a measure of difference between the brightness between the light and dark areas of a scene. So broad histograms reflect a significant contrast, whereas narrow histograms reflect less contrast, which may appear flat or dark, which I will show you. Now, this is ocean we have taken. The low contrast one doesn't show the waves properly, but in a high contrast one, you can see the waves and the highlights much more in detail. So this has the highlights, the heron, you can see very nicely, and the background is totally blurred, and the world which is created by the uh, heron was also gives, you can see it in very nice detail. Now, right, now forget about all the technical details. Now, because we use phones as cameras nowadays, right? So to everybody, now these rules apply, right? Even if you take a photograph from your camera, there are few things that you have to think of. one thing is simplicity, right? So if you have less number of elements, including your object, the foreground and the background, the picture looks aesthetically more appealing, right? Like this picture, where the pelican was sitting on a mound and the background is totally blurred. There is no foreground here. And it looks a fantastic picture rather than, cloudy background, right? And when you photograph an animal or even a person, right? When you talk also, you need to have eye contact. No? So when you photograph an animal, it is always you need to have the eye contact with the animal. That means that animal's eye should be focused properly, right? That is also a fundamental rule that you have to keep in your mind. Now, this is the same pelican in a different area, and you can see how many elements are there. The people, the background, the other pelicans. So this is total in clutter, right? Not aesthetically appealing at all. So when you photograph your object, that is your primary visual element, you have to think of. And if there is any internal complexity of the image elements like the feathers and the eye and so on, you have to think of, and you have to think of their separation as well, right? Now, this peacock, right? I have given more prominence to the more beautiful element of this image, the feathers and um, the feather pattern, right? Rather than the animal, right? So depending on your scene, you have to put your focus on the full plumage, right? So depending on the circumstances, you have to concentrate on what you want to show. And then the asymmetry. Asymmetry, we talk about rule of thirds, the vertical asymmetry, the horizontal asymmetry, and comparing the four quadrants, all that I will come into. Usually, the photograph is aesthetically more appealing if the main object is not at the right at the center, unless it looks towards you. If you put it in a corner, right? That is what is called rule of thirds. We try to place our object left or right, top or bottom, in this manner, right? Where you divide your whole scene into thirds, and these cross points, we try to put our main object, right? So this heron was put on the corner, and especially he is looking down for his prey, and um, we have put the heron's head and this thing on the crossing point. So similarly, this one, right? We have put on this side and the eyes crossing the um, upper one third. So the asymmetry makes a picture more aesthetically more beautiful than putting it on the center. If I put this on the right at the center, it would have been not so beautiful, right? So like this. So the ocean, I have put it onto the lower third, the sky, the upper two thirds, and one corner, the ship. So then there are things called eye lines, where your eye catches some lines, right, in your photograph. It may be physical eye lines, it may be your fore, middle, and background, or the color changes. Any element that moves the eye, you have to think of before taking the photograph. This is physical eye lines. Now the railing goes to your object. So, and we ride also right to left. So the right to left movement always catches we tend to, look from here upwards like that, right? And it may be the foreground, middle and background. These reflections nicely goes into your object, right? And the tonal colorations. This the Rainbow Mountain in Peru. It's a natural thing. So these colors will give you a nice picture. And any element that moves the eye, right? So these different colors, the lines always, catch your this thing. And the asymmetry. Usually the curved lines are much more aesthetically appealing than the straight line. So this road, which the point of view, the where you put your camera and the scale, it may be your object may be large or it may be small. Your positioning of the object, the unusual views. I will go to all of these in next few slides. Now this hummingbird, I have purposefully catched him in a little bit of a low shutter speed. Usually when a small bird you capture, you have to go about 2500, 3000 of a second shutter speed. But this was captured around 1000 to depict that the major portion of the body, the stationary portion, very focused, and to give the speed, the wings are little blurry, right? So it gives that the hummingbird is hovering in one point. And the small, you don't have to, get your object very big. You have to give a prominence to the environment as well when it is necessary, right? The nice sunset. And this was taken little down purposefully to show the mouth. That's the prominent thing. The leopard was yawning, and you need to see the mouth, properly. And this leopard was in a hunting pose. And usually the animals, when you photograph, if you take it at eye level, always try to take it at eye level. I was, going all fours in the ground to take this bird, the black-headed gull, at eye level. Okay, and the leopards, we always try to, um, go flat and take it as low as possible to give a nice perspective. So unusual view throughs. The lion club is looking through his mother's belly, and so it was like nicely framed. And the unexpected, so that was in the other presentation. Sorry about it. There was a thing, you can get a drawn picture, you can get a picture from a plane. Those are the unexpected non-human views. And always try to tell a story. Actually this was taken, the silhouette looks nice, and there was the horses ran away and created this dusty background. And this um, so the horse and the horseman looks very nice in this background. This was and the I don't have to tell a story. between these two, right? You can imagine. And also active versus passive games. Actually, this was taken in Brussels at the main square, right? Where took from my cell phone actually. This small puddle showed the reflection of the main church complex. And with the cobblestones and all that, it was a beautiful picture, I thought. And I was peeping through that. Everybody passing behind was, bewildered to see that this fellow was, peeping through a small puddle. What was it? But it was a very nice picture. And the I have always said now this crab to try to get the picture at a eye level. This is what normally you photograph, but if you go down like this, that will give a different image of the crab altogether. So, and try to avoid clutter, which I have. So be simple and the dead space. Avoid dead space and little visible details. You don't have to concentrate on the little visible details surrounds you. This is clutter, obviously, and the dead space. Now, these actually the necks are severed by this line, and the element separation is also important. Now, this one, the line cuts through the neck. So, you move your camera and take a shot like this. So always think about these small details and try to capture the essence. If you are trying to get a portrait kind of photograph, get closer, or if you have a zoom, try to zoom in. And action photography is, you need to have a little bit of a better camera, but mainly right time, right place. So it's, but you can improve the chances by observing the animal's behavior, right? Don't sitting at one place, observing the animal's behavior, you will be able to get a more action photographs without any issue, without running here and there, right? This was, I was waiting for this shot for more than 1 hour. He was having a shower, this paradise flycatcher. After about 40-50 shots, managed to get one. So in the right direction with the eye and the water sprinkling and all that. So sunset and sunrise also can be used to, enhance your image and gives a nice backgrounds to your photograph. And you can use low shutter speed in a moving animal that is called panning. You put 1/40th of a second depending on the animal's speed and move the camera with the animal and take number of multiple shots. And one shot will come like this, where the essential parts are focused, the other things are blurred, but it gives you a impression of speed. Okay? Like this one, right? On a nice background, blurry background, the object is focused and it gives a sense of. So before taking a photograph, always, have a working flow chart in your mind. Simplicity, asymmetry, the eye lines, point of view, and try to tell a story. And there are other kinds of photography which I don't go in, where you can master later on. The macro photography, where you real details are captured. And there is fine art photography with long shutter speeds, the street photography, the black and white photography, and so on. Thank you very much. I will show you some pictures that I have taken just to enjoy. For the this people may be interested. There may be people who are interested in starting photography. What you advise them is that equipment price. Nowadays, now the digital, so many digital SLRs, and as doctors, I think they can afford going for a small digital SLR because you have a lot of creativity in that. So whatever your capacity, go for a digital SLR. And there is a thing called full frame and the crop sensor. The full frame sensor, your image directly falls onto the full frame of your sensor. And so therefore, the clarity is much better in a full frame camera than a crop camera, right? So, so my advice is to go for something like that. The zoom lenses now there are 30-40 megapixel cameras, and the good zoom lens, which is less costly, can be fit into one of the digital SLR. Any input from Jiva, who is a veteran photographer, actually better than me also? Anything you want to add on, Jiva? Yeah, expensive hobby, but there are cheaper versions which are available. Yeah. Yeah, starting you have to it's just from the equipment. You got to have an eye, have time, have patience to do it, application. So that our eye for it also money. So but anyone who's interested, go for it. It's a lucky hobby. And using the equipment, of course, yeah, expensive, but it's worth trying it. Yes. If you go for a better camera, it will be a lifetime affair nowadays. If you go for a digital SLR, because now there is no cost of printing, no cost in film rolls, right? So once you buy a camera and a reasonable lens, so the maintenance running costs are zero, right? It's your the hard disk and all that then it comes to pay, right? So the initial cost is little high. Maybe you have to spend about 2-3 lakhs, but that investment is for life. Okay, these are Seru heels, which I have captured. Actually the bird photography was my hobby initially. That was my passion, and so the flights, if when you capture, always try to look for a pattern, and the like this black-tail goodwits, the feather pattern looks a nice image, and these ones are seen in your garden. The purple rump sunbird and the paradise flycatchers, and this one is a weaver bird, the pupu, porokurulla, these are shell ducks. I think Jiva would have captured in Mana. Rare visitors. And the pelicans, actually these pictures were taken in the Kalangama tank, not in anywhere else, right? Very close to Colombo. That is one of the best places if you have time to go in the morning or in the evening to capture very nice pictures. These all are in Kalangama tank. This one is a striated heron in Undala. This is pond heron or kanakoka, right? Normally people don't photograph it, but gives very nice, the aesthetically appealing pictures. But you have to, wait in one point and get the activity. You don't have to capture the full image of the bird. And this picture just shows the wings and the head and torso only, right? So depending on what you try to concentrate, you don't have to, capture the whole thing. Is fish eagle with a fish, the common kingfisher. Actually, this is not so common in Sri Lanka. This name was given by Englishmen because this bird is common in England out of the kingfisher, right? So this is pied kingfisher, and the couple, one is hunting, the other one is watching. This is actually the flamingos. Yes, flamingos. Their color depends on what they eat. So this is South American flamingos, and this is our ones in Mena, and grey heron. So always, even the light is it has a at an angle. Sometimes gives you better picture with the silhouette and the water sprinkling. You don't have to have direct light always, right? You think of other thing, possible things. Experiment with light. That is what photography is, right? And the backgrounds. Now this is the picture looks more aesthetically appealing because of the woven background, right? So always think about rather than this one, right? This one just catches the action and the background is just blue. So always try to look at the background as well. And when you can, if you are taking a portrait, you try to get closer as possible to depict the ferocity of the animal. This one is also from Talangama Tank. He was trying to build his nest. This is Indian roller. Managed to, his feathery pattern is very beautiful in his flight, like Pilihuduwa wage. And this one, I saw a nest and was waiting there until the bird comes to the nest. So you have to have little bit of patience. And his black wing stilts, the couple together, and frog mouths, always in pairs. The parrots, this is hanging parrot. Um, in Singaraja, is roasting parakeet, the common ones, the chestnut-headed bee-eater, the blue-tailed bee-eaters, winter visitors. So if you wait, this one was actually lying on a perch and I was waiting for about 15 to 20 minutes until he catches a prey and come there, So it's a waiting game. Most of the time, it's a waiting game. And I prefer dark backgrounds sometimes to give a, more prominent to the subject. And sorry, not here. And the patterns and also helps to give a aesthetically more appealing picture. And this is osprey, recent visitor to Boomdala, Vilpattu and so on with its prey. And this is in Boondala, the same animal, but I gave a more prominence to the sunset and the tree, not the animal. This Serendip's scops owl, we recently, about 5-6 years ago, we discovered this is brown fish owl. And scops owls are in your neighborhoods most of the time, but they are nocturnal, so you don't see them very much. This is chestnut back owlet or mookalambassa කියලා කියන්නේ ඔය මුවන් පැලසේම මේ අර voice එක chestnut back owlet. Black nape monarch. This is blue face malkoha, very shy bird, very difficult to capture. This was after rain. He was, preening his feathers, and I got the opportunity to capture him at a close range. Oyster catchers, rare winter visitors in Manor, and so sometimes you can the silhouette is much more beautiful than the animal, so it gives another story. And the peacocks mating. And deers are always the beautiful animals to photograph. You don't have to capture the whole deer. Most of the time you capture one of the emotions. And this was a silhouette. Because of this framing, I thought the image was beautiful. And even this one, putting it the small perspective on a one corner. Then the leopards are everybody's pet subject to photograph when you go to the wild. And you have to know about, they are very territorial, so you have to know where they hang around. And so always try to be at a waterhole or go early in the morning to capture them, because they come out early in the morning. And always try to capture emotions in a leopard, and with the concentrate on the background. And so you don't have to capture the whole animal. I mean, even this photograph with the eye and the tongue just jutting out with a dark background looks beautiful. And so if you are lucky, you will be able to capture that the young the leopard cubs playing. And this one was one of my favorites, actually. Waited for him to just peep through and capture this one. So with their prey and so on. So this is from somewhere else, just to show you. And this is actually, they have hunted the wild buffalo, and this one just to show this thing. Our sloth bears, it's very important to catch them when they are on activity and showing emotions. To show emotions, these are the best subjects you can get into. And this foreground and the background, the color, I thought was very nice. And this is Rajamugati, or striped neck mongoose. You rarely see them nowadays, and only in few national parks. Much bigger than this brown mongoose. And elephants. Elephants are other objects, but the thing is, you have to go very low to show the uh, enormity of the animal, right? You not to just take a photograph, but go low down as possible to show the enormity of the animal. And this was our lucky day after rains. He was breaking this branch, and the whole raindrops fell on him, right? So, and this one actually I have outside Gundala Park. I have go down very low that you can see the grass level to take this. The sea is also plenty of animals that you can photograph. The blue whales, the dolphins, the turtles, crabs, this starfish, and so on. The crocodiles are dangerous animals. Don't go near. This one I managed to capture in Vilpattu, the python and crab fight. It was a stalemate. No one won. Um, you don't have to have big animals for action. Even these lizards, snakes, and bit of landscape photography. This is in Horton Plains, where the long shutter speeds matters, right? To freeze the motion of the water, and this was taken of actually 20-second or 30-second exposure, and you have to have a tripod. With a small camera, you can do this, and gives a very nice picture. And this is same thing. My friends, I asked them to don't move, and about 20-second exposure. Then you can, picture the plants, the flowers with nice backgrounds. The sunsets, or don't miss, right? And thank you very much. This was photographed by one of my friends. And thank you very much for your patient listening. I hope that you enjoy the.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very interesting after lecture. So he was entertaining us with actually last pictures you showed. We all enjoyed, and I forgot to mention that he won the first prize of the photography exhibition last year in November, which was conducted by Ceylon College of Physicians, the Physician's Lens. So, in 2 weeks, it's another CME lecture.